still retrieving and unpacking all kinds of stuff from storage and moving over here. A lot of laptops been popping up recently, and well, there's this one I've been wanting to cover, and I got one, so let's take a look at it. It's got a really cool feature. Look at this beige beauty. I love an off-white laptop. And Compaq made some of the best looking models back in the day, like this one. This is the 1993 Compaq LTE Lite Model 4/25E. Now, that E signifying it has a monochrome display, but not your standard monochrome LCD panel that you'd get on every other DOS PC laptop back then. No, this is an active matrix monochrome display, what Compaq called UltraView, having significantly less ghosting and higher contrast than passive panels, and it is awesome. It's a full 256 color VGA chip displaying things at up to 640 by 480 underneath, but this 10-inch 4-bit grayscale LCD gives everything a really cool look in my view. Now, Compaq only included this on a handful of models for a couple years, right in that pocket of time where active matrix color was exorbitantly expensive and passive matrix monochrome was beginning to feel ancient, but then they came out with this. Like, just look at the competition. This Packard Bell Statesman had the typical mono panel for the time. It made sense for writing, spreadsheets, some desktop publishing, but anything with any kind of movement is an exercise in smeary sadness. So, for a bit more cash, but not nearly as much as full color, Compaq's active matrix monochrome offering made a lot of sense, with the only other company doing this with laptops being Apple. And the original Macintosh Portable and several PowerBooks from around the same time as the LTE Lite, they also used an active display manufactured by Hoshiden in Japan, the same company Compaq partnered with, along with Citizen, best known for their wristwatches, as well as manufacturing floppy drives. Yeah, they were involved too. But yeah, I just never realized active matrix monochrome displays were a thing. It turns out I've seen plenty of Apple portables with them at vintage computer festivals, but so many times they aren't powered on and I haven't used one myself, so I didn't realize that they had a special panel. It wasn't until I ran across this 425E for sale one late night that I realized the tech even existed. So I had to buy one a while back to check it out, because I don't know, there's something about high quality monochrome imagery that really appeals to me. And it's the most interesting thing about this laptop, really. Otherwise, it's just a nice, cleanly designed 486. Now, I love portable systems of this era, and I've always liked what Compaq was doing with theirs back then, like with their mouse integration, that little trackball on the right-hand side of the display. Same sort of thing they did with their sub-notebooks like the Contura Aero, where you have the two mouse buttons on the lid and you move the trackball with your thumb. It works quite well as long as it's kept clean. And since it isn't a full-sized laptop, the smaller notebook form factor had Compaq going with one of their smaller keyboards, and these are pretty solid too. I mean, it literally feels quite solid. This thing has thunk to it. And yeah, the numpad is integrated in there. You just have function key over there and all these shortcuts and the numpad stuff. It's quite convenient. Good arrow keys too. Smaller, but again, it's just so thunky and, I don't know, responsive enough. It feels pretty good. Don't exactly know what this type of mechanism is called, but there's like a little rubber gasket there and like a slider, plastic slider that goes down. I don't know, the membrane or dome. Yeah, it pops out nicely. Yes, for the overall specs of the 425 series LTE Lite, they all had an Intel 486 SL processor, 25 MHz as implied by the model name, and each of them had 4 MB of RAM as standard, but that could be expanded with these neat little RAM expansion cards plugging into the side over near the modem slot, taking it up to 20 megs total, or more often, like mine here, doubling it to 8 MB. A hard disk loaded with MS-DOS 6 and Windows 3.1 was standard as well. 120 megs was the base, with this one having the top-end choice. Up front, there's the 1.44 meg 3.5-inch floppy drive and the NiCad battery, which doesn't work on here. None of the batteries in this thing work, but whatever, we got wall power. This brick with Compaq's funky little connector on the end, spec'd at 18.5 volts, 2.5 amps, and outputting 35 watts. And that AC adapter plugs in around back here under the unfortunately exposed display hinge for the monitor, and little plastic bits are always breaking on these things. Then you have a PS2 mouse port right beside that, and this, which looks kind of like an audio jack, but it's not. There's no sound card. It is a 2.5mm connector for an external keyboard or numeric keypad, compact sold for these. And next to that is this beefy docking station connector. And yeah, the dock was equally beefy. One of those with full ISA expansion slots and all that kind of stuff. This one on eBay here is rather tempting. And then yeah, you have a full color VGA output, a parallel port, 9-pin serial, and that 2400 BPS data fax modems on the right-hand side corner. Now, as for the pricing of this thing, I mean, it was a couple grand less than the full color model, but the monochrome still started around $3,000, with mine as configured here costing closer to $3,900 once you added extra RAM. So, you know, 1993 laptop pricing, it was no joke. But considering this was geared towards business and home office use, as evidenced by the type of software bundles available, that sort of pricing wasn't unreasonable. But having one was still a flex. Like this AP writer called it a great midlife crisis purchase, saying when you're hit with midlife blues, a computer in a bag is cheaper than an affair or a sports car, and it's almost as impressive to show friends. Truer words indeed. But yeah, less discussing, more doing, and really I haven't had to do much with this thing yet in terms of restoration. The main thing it needed externally was a good cleaning, having a bit of random writing and years of grime and dirty buildup, along with the usual scuffs and scratches, plus a bit of goopy, gross, deteriorated rubber feet underneath. It all cleaned up great though, and the main body plastics haven't yellowed at all. Sadly, there are a few missing plastic pieces like that hinge cover, one of the lid clips, and stress cracks and fractures on every corner and screw hole. At the moment, it's holding up and working though, so let's power it on and check it out. Alright, well, we get our first glance of that wonderful Active Matrix monochrome display. It honestly looks great in person. I don't know how well it's going to come across on camera, but it is genuinely impressive for something that doesn't have color. Alright, so into Windows 95, of course no startup sound. There is no sound card or chipset in here. It does have a PC speaker, so I guess we could put like a PC speaker driver for some wave playback, but I haven't done that. Getting this to look right, because yeah, it just looks so clean in person. Obviously we're getting a bit of a moire pattern and an uneven lighting effect from the camera and the filter and stuff that I have going, but it looks so consistent and just beautiful in person. I mean, seriously, this is the best black and white LCD I've ever had. But yeah, it is a Windows 95. Something that the previous owner upgraded. They obviously also used NetZero for some dial-up internet, and Microsoft Works for doing some works. They left some fascinating files on here too. I mean, I'm not going to show all of them, but maybe a couple of them because they are kind of amusing. And yeah, Columbus Public Schools, I don't know if that's Columbus, Ohio or what, but you know, 486, 8 megs of RAM, pretty substantial for 1993. No CD-ROM built in, but there is something here that was left over from, I guess, one that they had plugged in. Also saw some backpack drivers trying to load on startup, as well as not just the internal trackball, but a Logitech serial mouse was at one point connected. And yeah, the modem is also still in here, so it does have that megahertz branded C5144. Of course, the hard disk, which doesn't say the capacity, but it is the 210 megs. I wonder at what point did they install NetZero? Because I don't, oh wow, what's it doing? Oh, the DOS prompt there. Okay, so this is 1999. I was gonna say I installed NetZero for the first time around 2000. I mean, I just tried any kind of free dial-up, you know, whatever it was. It doesn't matter, as long as it had some sort of free option, whether it was a trial or completely free and ad supported like NetZero was, man, I was all over it, because paying for internet, that wasn't always feasible. All right, NetZero 1.6.1. There's the dial-up number that it was using at one point. So a 614 area code, that confirms the Ohio. And as for the files that are on here, I'm assuming they just redid everything around 2000 or so, 99, 2000. All the file dates are wrong, so it had dead CMOS battery going on. But yeah, there's not really much on here. There's this power monitor program here for looking at the battery and whatnot, which, yeah, battery does not work. This folder here with some random documents in it. There's your backpack CD-ROM, which, yeah, would be actually a nice thing to use with it. I probably would use mine with it, but I don't know where it is. I haven't found it out of storage yet. And then randomly there's like documents and program files, and these two caught my attention: cloning and punishment. I mean, there's no way I was not going to open those. So yeah, this is someone's English 102 paper. Should we clone? What is cloning? Should human cloning be allowed? Most individuals would say no, but there could be many benefits to it. Like if you needed a kidney transplant, but you know, you clone your kidney. I thought I was gonna go to like cloning the person and then you take your cloned person's kidney, but no, that is the plot to The Island, more or less. Anyway, the late 90s cloning ideas. I remember Dolly the sheep being a whole thing. And then punishment, yeah, you can probably guess. Yeah, of the capital variety. I don't know, I was hoping for maybe a creed on BDSM or something, but no, it's very much this kind. But whatever, that's all that's on here. It is not a whole lot. They didn't do anything fun, it seems. There's not even any games. Like, how sad. It's just Microsoft Works, NetZero, and that's all you got. So we are going to put this, I did not mean to click on that. We're going to put this back to how it should be with MS-DOS 6 and Windows 3.1. Internet Exploder, get out of here. I'm trying to shut things down. So yeah, MS-DOS 6 and Windows 3.1, which I have an OEM Compaq branded copy of that, so that will be good. And yet it does still have, okay, well, just restarted. That's weird. I've noticed that. Sometimes it'll do the, you know, it's okay to shut down your computer. Other times it'll just restart. Anyway, let's get that original software back on there. And I'm also really hoping that I can find like the proper video drivers and things for this, for Windows 3.1. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that, see if there is anything special about it. There might not be. Yeah, I haven't actually tested the floppy drive, and it doesn't sound promising. Yeah, I don't know about that. It's trying to load, but that sounds like it's just spinning freely and not actually seeking around. Well, dude, it's yeah, bit of a conundrum here. A few of them actually. So these screws came out okay, and I think they need to come out for this, but actually I'm not entirely sure. Looking up some online guides to this, there's definitely a bit of an annoying process, especially for something like this with such brittle plastics. They're coming apart all over the place, and it's not something that I want to make even worse here. So here's my thinking, right? Like, oh, okay, I'll just either swap out this floppy drive for, you know, or try to get it working, or maybe find another one maybe that works, or, you know, maybe just connect to Gotek or something. But I gotta get in there in order to do that if I want to boot up something like an MS-DOS 6 installation and then Windows 3 and whatever. So I need to boot from this. Problem is, I can't get in here and without breaking it potentially, and there's so many little pieces that are cracked. That's cracked, this is cracked, that's cracked. That right there is. This little bit there. Of course that, and other places around here. And it looks like most of this is actually held in place by plastic clips. This entire front or top part needs to come off. And then the keyboard and everything else before you can even access the floppy drive area. And then there's also just the fact that this doesn't want to come out. Like, it's so jammed in place in there, and again, it's cracking apart even, so it makes me concerned to even taking it apart at all. So if I want to get the original install going on here, that leaves me with just a couple of options. First would be to get that backpack CD-ROM I was talking about earlier, which I do have somewhere, but I have no clue where. It is so deep in storage, and I'm still going through all that. It could be a while before I even find it. But that would potentially be the easiest fix. You can just get all the installation files and stuff on a CD-ROM for both DOS and Windows 3 and install it directly that way. Although, I might still have to boot into something just to be able to access the CD-ROM, actually. I don't know if, this probably is not gonna boot directly from a CD. I don't think, yeah, I didn't even think about that. So that might not work either. There's also doing something like LapLink, right? With the like a null modem serial cable and just transferring things over from another computer onto this existing hard drive and then maybe upgrading or swapping out the, well, but see, it already has MS-DOS 7 / Windows 95 going on here. So it would be a downgrade. And then that, it really just needs to be wiped, right? And in order to do that, I need something to boot from. I don't want to tear this thing up even worse, break it apart, because again, looking it up, it's mentioned that there are several just little bits that you gotta bend. And I don't want to bend any of this. Like, look, there's so many little cracked bits. This thing is barely holding together. It doesn't even latch all the way properly. Every time I open it too, it feels like it's just gonna crumble. So I think I might, for this video, at least just leave it as is until, you know, I would like just take the hard disk out, for instance, and then get it going that way on another machine, install it there and put it back in. But I still have to take it apart to do that. I mean, I'm feeling like I don't want to risk completely shattering all this. That is such a nice looking machine. Oh, so if I can maybe find another like donor unit with more plastics, and then I would feel more comfortable taking this apart, I might do that. Well, we'll just go back to using Windows 95 because it is working. It's just not original, and I wanted to put it back to original OEM installation, but you know what? Yeah, we're gonna leave it here. Although, you know, without a floppy drive or CD-ROM or PCMCIA or anything, I don't have any way to get other software in here, games, whatever else. So I'm gonna try bootstrapping it. Not something I've done in a while. This doesn't happen very often, but we'll see if it works. All right. Hey. All right. So that is actually working now. I just didn't have that right command set for the serial speed. Remote machine is not responding. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna try this in just straight up DOS mode. Skip Windows entirely. Okay, copying once again seems to be good on the sending side. We'll see if receiving does anything at all. I hear like tiny little bits of hard disk activity, but not. Oh, hey, there we go. Heck yeah, dude. Man, it's been a long time since I bootstrapped anything, but especially MS-DOS. Last thing I did was Apple II of some kind. I mean, I'm not even entirely sure you'd call this bootstrapping. It kind of feels like it to me, but yeah, there we go. Hey, look at all the goodness. We got so many games and things that we can transfer over from the, well, it's an SD card running on the Windows 98 Mega Lumen Monster, so. And I just wanted an assortment of fun little things that seem like they'd be fun on a black and white display. So, yeah, I'm assuming that's not gonna be any kind of speed worth writing home about, but yeah, whatever. I don't care. I'm just happy to have any option, you know. It really does kill a computer like this if you don't have a floppy drive, you know, in terms of getting anything done, especially a laptop. I'll definitely get this fixed up at one point. Like, this is such a cool computer, I think. It's worth putting some effort in. I just don't want to break it here right now for this video. Let's break it later. Also just noticing too, it looks like it's flickering the display there. That is not visible at all in person. It's such a wonderful, clean, steady looking image. It's honestly, I think this is beautiful. Here, let me get my other camera and show you what it looks like more to my eye. Yeah, if that looks as good as it does on the camera here, I mean, it's beautiful. It's almost like looking at e-ink or something. I still got a little bit of that flicker going on. I don't see that at all. Even from the sides even, like, you know, it's really not that bad. A little worse when you do that, but it's such a beautiful display, monochrome or not. Oh no, maybe I spoke too soon. It's been transferring for about 15 minutes and like, the longer it's been sitting on this, it's fading out. It's the reverse thing there. Oh man. I am going to turn this off. And wow, yeah, I can barely see, and it's all looking worse. Oh, that's not good. I don't like that. What's going on? I wonder if the display like just died. It's just like severe vignetting or something. It's, man, I'm gonna leave it off for a while. Maybe it'll come back or something. All right, so I left it off for an hour, turned it back on. And we're good now. It's back to normal. So then there's definitely a thing where the longer it is used, the more vignetting it gets. And looking it up, there's some other folks on Vogons and whatnot that have the exact same problem on the exact same model, and it still happens even after replacing the backlight CFL. And so I don't know what exactly might be causing that. It's an interesting LCD issue with this particular type of black and white thing. Also, some folks saying it happened with Apple's monochrome portables as well. Yeah, on that note, the MacDat website here, there's a write-up on LCD tunnel vision, as they call it, and they say it's something that affects pretty much all these panels manufactured by the Hoshiden Corporation, including those Mac portables, PowerBooks, and of course the Compaq LTE lights that all have that same type of display. And unfortunately, it's pretty much just going to happen to all of them eventually, maybe, but there is some sort of fix about baking them in an oven. I mean, you know, I've done that for certain kinds of components before. I might try that. I might not. I might just try to get a replacement panel if it's real bad. Didn't actually get that much transferred because I was like, oh crap, what's going on? But yeah, we can at least try this now. It does seem that there are actually some new versions of these panels available, so I went ahead and bought one of those, as well as a new CFL backlight. So that will be a thing that, you know, if they show up and they're working, then maybe I'll try swapping one or both of those out again once I get to the point of wanting to take this apart. I guess this just doesn't do anything. This adjuster here, supposed to be brightness, but nope, nothing happens. It's a shame that the PC speaker is so quiet too. Yeah, really cannot hear that. Even if I put my mic like right up to as close as I can down here. Yeah, like that can't be right, you know, it's gotta be louder than that. But yeah, just kind of is what it is. Maybe that's having some issues too. I was also reading that the CMOS battery, which is dead on here, has a pretty nasty tendency to leak. And that, well, that's not good. So, I mean, I really do want to get in there and address all kinds of things internally. And the list keeps growing. So, yeah, I'll either just risk it at some point and be as careful as I possibly can, or, yeah, like I said, maybe I'll find another donor case or something like that. I just don't want to screw with that today, man. I really don't. I'm not in the mood. And my goodness, again, the monochrome is looking so good with this game. Like, all the colors are showing up, you know? It's not like, well, there was another one that I covered, a monochrome monitor, VGA, that was on LGR Blurbs, I want to say. It was something that I picked up while thrifting, a little 9-inch CRT. Well, it looked awesome. It was nice and crisp and sharp and stuff. It was made for a POS system, retail, point of sale thing, and it doesn't display all of the colors. In fact, I think the main color it was showing was green. It skipped red and blue, something like that. But yeah, if we go back into Windows, we can test some colors. Or actually, no, I don't have a little benchmark thing on here. I was going to say Check It Pro would be a good thing to do. I mean, we do have Doom, which is a thing. And of course, there's no sound card in here, so yeah, just turn that off. Also just curious how this will run, considering the 25 megahertz 486. Yeah, that looks so good. It's got all the colors. And certainly a nice grayscale situation. All right, let's get into a game here. It's definitely loading okay. And playing all right too. Again, for the type of hardware we have in here. My goodness, it just looks so cool. I don't know why I like this so much, but I really do. Oh man. Yeah, a little bit of hitching as it's loading in bits and pieces of what's going on here, but that is to be expected. I mean, this is having issues just hanging out in Windows 95, right? In terms of a little bit of, you know, waiting around for things to happen as the hard disk does its thing. But it's actually a pretty quiet hard disk, all things considered. Yeah, more than playable. That's for dang sure. This is awesome. This is about the limit of what I would expect to play on here in terms of gaming. You know, I mean, this is 1993 computer, end of 1993 game. But I didn't even bother copying Duke 3D over. Not only because it would have taken absolutely ages, being like 50 megabytes or whatever, but also because it's just we're not going to get good results with that kind of thing on here. But up to Doom and thereabouts, perfectly fine. There's just something about the way it renders everything. See how close up I can get here, and maybe you can see more of what I mean. It's almost like a, I don't know, like a fabric texture or something. It's just wonderful. I really, really think this is a pleasant display to look at least until it starts vignetting and going dark and slowly phasing out of visual existence. Oh man, I was just gonna go into Paint. It doesn't even have that installed. What a minimalist installation. Yeah, it's only been on for maybe 15-20 minutes and I can already see the edges starting to get goopy again. Just, what was this in? 256? Yeah, 256 colors, 640 by 480. And then we can at least go to the color palette here and see that, yeah, there is an approximation of all the colors, you know? Look at that. What a nice dithered grayscale. And yeah, this is what it's like on here. And of course, here it is against a color monitor with all 256 colors. Perfectly fine for a businessy computer like this. And honestly, considering it shows all the different colors in some form or another, it's really not that bad for gaming either. It's just a darn shame about these things that seem to be going out like that. It does seem to be flickering more visibly as well to my eye here, as opposed to just through the camera. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, the more I've used this over the past few days, it has completely started to just really get bad really quickly here. It's only been going maybe 25 minutes at this point. That's sad. What a cool computer though. I really enjoy this thing. And that's about it for the LTE Lite 425E. Really just an excuse to show off that relatively obscure active matrix monochrome. It's such a pleasing look, and I hope it came across on camera. At least until it started suffering tunnel vision and vignetting itself out of existence, the poor thing. But yeah, let me know if you had one of these machines with that display, Compaq or Apple, and if you had the same problem, I'd be happy to know how you fixed it, if you managed to do so. Or hey, let me know what your favorite machine is that's otherwise kinda standard fare, except for one killer feature like this. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and do stick around if you did. There are more LGR things on old laptops and beyond continually in the works. And as always, thanks for watching.